Hari Om. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmaswarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namah. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranadakleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Viddushavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om once again to all of you. We are going through the introductory text Atmabodha, one of the compositions of Jagadguru Adi Shankara Bhagavat Padar Shankaracharya. We have seen up to the 19th verse on last Sunday. Before we go to the 20th verse, we will refer the 18th sloka of the Atmabodham one more time, so that becomes a base for our discussion. The 18th verse, Dehendriya Manobuddhi Prakritibhyo Vilakshanam Tadvritti Sakshinam Vidyad Atmanam Rajavat Sada. So here, Atman, our inner essence, our reality, the truth within us, is referred as King, Rajavat Sada. So here, Atman is different from the body, mind, intellect, senses. Correct. These all are the matter components or constituents. Body, mind, intellect, sense, etc. are belonging to the Prakriti, are belonging to the matter. And whereas Atman is the witness of these functions. Our existence is witnessing the changes happening, including in this body as well as around us. So Atman is the witness of these functions, and Atman is not a participant. That is why this analogy of Rajavat Sada, Atmanam Rajavat Sada. So you might have seen in these dramas or in the old movies, the darbar of the king. Correct. So a lot of things happen in that darbar. And do you think that the king will go and organize the things like, getting the people here or organizing or arranging their food, etc.? King will be just relaxing and observing. In the darbar, king will be sitting on the chair. And what king will do? King will just observe. And others will perform in front of the king. King doesn't participate. Correct? King doesn't participate in the drama or music or whatever is happening in his royal court. Similarly, our self, our Atma, is the witness of the play of Prakriti. Whether it is good or bad, or sorrowful or joyful events happen, this Atman is a witness. Similarly, the king is a witness of all these endeavors which are happening in the royal court. And the king is a powerful witness. The people are playing for whom? the king. So the best show is offered to the king, and the king is a witness. Similarly, the Atman, our reality, is the witness of the matter-based objects, including the body, including the mind, including the senses, including to the transactions, including our transactions that we do in the world. So Rajavat Sada, our Atman is like a Raja, a king. Sada, always a witness of the functions that are happening in the plane of the Upadhi or at the plane of matter. So now the question is, how will you find the true essence of life? And what is the true purpose in life? The true purpose in life is basically finding out what is my true essence in life. Am I this mere body? Am I this mere mind? In that case, every now and then things are changing in the plane of matter.
So here the Atma is the Jivatma.
Is the Jivatma in this context. So essence of one's life is knowing this absolute truth within. What is this absolute truth? The existence, consciousness, bliss, absolute. We are that. And this Atman, this reality is the embodiment of everything. Is the embodiment of everything. Is the embodiment of all possibilities. Whether it is the alaugika gunam or alaugika gunam. When I say the alaugika gunam, including the peace, the desirelessness, humility, perfection, beauty, infinity, love, compassion, eternity, everything. And this is our reality. But due to Maya or due to the ignorance, what is happening is basically we forget this true nature. We forget this true nature, the Surupam, and we identify ourselves with the Swabhavam. Swabhavam is the part of Prakriti. Surupam is the part of your inner essence. In fact, Surupam is your inner essence. And what happens? We deal with the Swabhava Vastus and we forget our true nature and we get entangled in the relative world. This is what is happening. And we relate ourselves with all these objects and the attributes coming from the objects. What are those attributes? These attributes are basically the opposite pairs. Good, bad, pain, sorrow. That is what is happening. Right? Man forgets the true nature and identifies with the objects and get entangled into the pairs or the dualities. That includes pain, pleasure, life, death, good, evil. What happens is basically we are drifting from the Surupam and we are identifying ourselves with the Swabhavam. So this verse says you have to be like a king. Irrespective of what happens in the royal court, you need to be a witness. And you need to be a powerful witness. It is not just a mere witness. Due to your power, things are happening. So that is why Raja is considered as a powerful witness. So now our problem is basically we are drifting from the witness to the, or we are drifting from the seer to seen. Seer to seen. or in simple terms we can say we are drifting from aham to idam. Idam meaning whatever you can perceive. Correct. So what we are doing is basically we are drifting or shifting from the aham to idam. We are drifting from the powerful witness. In this sloka it is related as a king as a powerful witness. We are drifting from that king to the objects, or that king to the happenings that are occurring in the royal court. And we are roaming in the idam, meaning we are roaming in the samsaram. And that samsaram is always changing. Will that samsaram remain same? Will the idam padartham remain same always? Which is always changing, and you can see the rise and fall of idam padartham every time. Correct. And what we are looking in our life, we are looking for infinite blessedness or infinite happiness. And Shastram now says that, come on, you cannot have a perpetual happiness from the objects, because they all are undergoing the rise and fall, because the dualities are applicable for all the objects. All the matter principle, all objects in the matter realm will undergo these dualities. So then when you are looking for continuous happiness or infinite blessedness in life, we all want to have a dukkha nivritti and paramananda prapti, maximum happiness, continuous happiness. And this is not possible through the finite actions. And these finite actions are governed by the law of cause and effect. So what we have to do, we cannot run away. We have to involve in the prakriti. We have to involve in the actions. We have to involve in the objects without getting entangled. How a king is observing? Will the king give instantaneous comment and all? King will be the observer. King will be, always looking at the performers. So similarly, involvement in the actions, involvement in the prakriti, involvement in the objects without getting entangled. That is what we have to. We have to try to become like not having dependence on the objects, not having dependence on the prakriti, not having dependence on the actions. Involved, no problem. Because involvement has to be there, maximum involvement has to be there, but dependence is a problem. So when we start depending more and more, what happens is basically that dependence will lead to entanglement. So that dependence will become or will create a behavior in us like we are trying to become in life. Becoming that will become a big business for us. So instead of becoming in life, Shastra is saying that aim the path of being with your true self, being with your true nature, like a king who is witnessing the things. From the idam, turn towards aham. Dependence should be on the aham, not on the idam. Dependence should be on the seer, not on the seen. Dependence should be on the drik, not on the drishyam. Dependence should be on the subject, not on the objects. Transactions are fine. Involvement is also fine. But dependence, and further when you have a dependence on these objects, that will create the bondage, that will create the entanglement in life. Shruti again says that, if you see the definition of Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva, in symbolism wise, we represent or we consider Bhagavan or Lord Shiva as, right, the Kailasa Nathan. Shruti says that Namo Aham Padarthaya Loganam Siddhi Hedave Satchidananda Rupaya Shivaya Paramatmane Namo Aham Padarthaya. Namo
is the consciousness.
Namo Aham Padarthaya Lokanam Siddhi Hedave. The Aham Padartham is the Shiva. And I bow to that reality within me. Namo Aham Padarthaya Lokanam Siddhi Hedave. Who is the reason for everything. Satchidananda Rupaya. And what is the nature of that Aham Padartham? Sat Chita Anandam. Satchidananda Rupaya Shivaya Paramatmane. So my Aham Padartham is Shiva. And that Aham itself is the reason for the Logam. Loganam Siddhi Hedave Satchidananda Rupaya Shivaya Paramatmane. So Aham Padartham meaning what? The Atman. Shiva is what? Shiva is our Atman. Shiva is the conscious force within us. Shiva is the Bodha Sarupa in all beings. So when we say Shiva Anubhuti, it is all about Atma Anubhuti. So who is Shivam? Shivam is also called as Mangalam. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Say, Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chitta Ninaham Nacha Srotra Jihve Nacha Krana Netre Nacha Vyoma Bhumir Na Tejo Na Vayu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. So when we start introspecting ourselves, I am not the Manasa, I am not the Buddhi, Mano Buddhi Ahankara Chitta Ninaham. I am not the Chittam, I am not the Manasa. Naja Srotra Jihve, Naja Krana Netre. I am not the Karmendriyas, I am not the Jnanendriyas. Naja Vyoma Bhumir na Tejo na Vayu. I am not the Panchabhutams. Agasham, Jalam, Vayu, Agni, Prithvi. Then who am I? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. I am that inner essence, that reality which gives consciousness, which is the absolute consciousness, knowledge, bliss absolute. And that is my nature. So witness of all Chitta Vritti, the witness of all Chitta Vritti is the Aham, and I am that Aham.
And what is Shakti then?
Shakti is the Maya.
Shakti.
Shiva Shakti. Shiva Shakti Aikya Rupinye Namaha. In the Lalita Sahasranama you can see. And you know, Brahman and Maya both are Anadi. There is no independent existence to Maya. Correct? So, as I always say, the two sides of the coin, Brahman and Maya. So, Devi is considered as the Shakti, is the embodiment of the Shakti. And Brahman is the force for the Devi. Shiva, Shakti, Aikya, Rupinye Namaha. So witness of all Chitta Vritti is our aham, that is our true reality, that is our true nature. So what one has to have in life is basically Shraddha.
So Shiva is Brahman,
Shiva is the consciousness, is the Atman, yes.
Paramatma, and Shakti is the Maya. Okay.
So that is where if you see the symbolism, Shiva Parvati, correct. So for the Grahasthaashramis like us, Shiva Parvati Sankalpam, both are essential. Shakti and Shivam both are essential. Similarly, the Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. Apara Prakriti alone will not have a meaning. When Para Prakriti is also known, Para Prakriti is there, Para Prakriti becomes the substratum for Apara Prakriti, then there is meaning. So that is where the Nama Rupam are considered as Jadam. There is no independent existence for Nama Rupam. There is no independent existence for Shakti alone. So Shivam should also be there. The existence, consciousness, bliss. That is the substratum for any names and forms to exist.
Somewhere I was reading that Shakti is the power of the Brahman to manifest.
Yes. That is the Apara Prakriti. In Bhagavad Gita's language, it is the power of Para Prakriti. Right? Apara Prakriti is the manifestation, and Apara Prakriti alone will not exist. What needs is basically the Para Prakriti. So Para Prakriti is the Brahman. Apara Prakriti is the Maya. Apara Prakriti is the names and forms. So when we look at anything, any names and forms, what is really needed? One has to understand the underlying substratum, underlying the reality. One should have Shraddha in life. Bhagavad Gita says, Shraddhavan labhade jnanam tatpara samyadendriya. So Shraddhavan labhade jnanam. How one will get jnanam? Through
the 4 yogas.
Through the Shraddha. Yeah. Yogas are basically to invoke this Shraddha. Right. So now what one has to do, you all should become like a king who is the witness. Correct. And knowing that who is king here? King is the witness. King is the Swarupam. And one should have the Swarupa Jnanam. One should understand the true reality. What one has to have? One should have Shraddha. So for Swarupa Jnanam, Shraddha is needed. Correct. And this Shraddha is for what? Shraddha is for knowing our true self. And this true self is ever blissful. And this true self cannot undergo any grief or sorrows. So Shraddha should be for what? Shraddha should be for knowing our true nature. So one has to take a U-turn here. From the world reference to the self-reference. World reference we need because we need to do transactions. But dependence cannot be on the world reference. The reference should be on the self. And with this knowledge, one has to transcend the dynamics of the Apara Prakriti. One has to transcend the dynamics of nature. One has to transcend the dynamics of the Maya. One has to transcend the dynamics of names and forms. Names, forms, objects, causations. When we say transcend the dynamics, meaning understanding the reality behind the names and forms, apara, prakriti, maya, objects, etc. And that is the purpose of our life, finding the true essence. So for finding the true essence of our life, Atmabodham prescribes 3 things. One is basically the Shraddha, the faith, the single-minded devotion. Or we can say Prabhati, Sharanagati, these all are the different terms. Single-minded devotion. Single-minded devotion in what?
Trying to attain devotion.
Single-pointed devotion in that higher truth. Now we have drifted. So what we have to aim is basically the devotion in that higher truth, which is already there within us. But the problem is basically we have drifted, we have got entangled, we have moved. Our coordinates are different now. So one has to have the single-minded devotion or Shraddha or faith in that higher truth. That is first. Second thing is the jnanam, the knowledge about the self. And knowledge about the self will happen when there is a conducive mind. That is where we discussed about the discrimination, dispassion, discipline, desire, all those things. Right? The disciplines, samam, damam, etc. So, first is what? The bhakti, shraddha or single-pointed devotion. Second is the knowledge about the self, knowledge about the God, knowledge about the Brahman. Jnana prapti. Jnanam is very much needed, right? How jnanam will come? Jnanam will come through the Shastram and the Guru Vakya. Correct? And third is what? The Kripa or the blessings. Blessings of whom? What is the path for us to attain that higher reality? Though we have drifted, there is a notional distance. So that distance has to be bridged. That distance has to be closed. That distance should be bridged. So first is basically the Sharanagati in that higher truth. Second is this knowledge is needed. Knowledge about the self. Right? This self, the Jiva, Atma and the Paramatma both are essentially same. But now the issue is there is a drift. Right? This has to be understood that essentially there is oneness between the Jivatma and Paramatma. Essentially both are same. This knowledge has to be there. And to attain that Paramapadam, one has to get the Kripa, the blessings. Clear? These 3 things should happen. Bhakti should happen, the Jnanam should be there, and we also have to ensure that we are at the right track to gain the knowledge. All these 4Ds and things like that, the sadhana, the upasanas, correct? And above that, we need to have the kripa, the blessings of that higher reality. Otherwise, the satsanga bhagyam will never come. Shastra Padanam will never happen. Guru will never come. So ultimately our aim is to find the true essence of our life. One should have bhakti in that higher reality. Ishvara bhakti, in a simple term we can say. Then we need to have the jnanam, knowledge, and one should also have the jnana yogita prapti. One should get equipped. The mind has to be conducive. But above all these two, the kripa, the blessing should be there. Then only we will be in that path. Ultimately, that witness consciousness Who is powerful here? Let's go back to the story of king. Who is powerful?
Yeah, Atma.
Atma is powerful. So that Atman should, right, the true higher reality should give the blessings for the jiva to come out of the cycle. Clear? In the Bhagavad Gita 11th chapter, Vishwarupa Darshana Yogam, that comes just before the Bhakti Yoga. So those who have listened, or even we had discussed these topics many times. In the 53rd and 54th verse. So once Bhagavan shows the Vishwarupam, right? At the end, the 53rd verse. Naham vedairna tapasa na danena na cha ijjaya shakya evam vidho drashtum drishtovanasi mam yada bhaktya tu ananyaya shakya aham evam vidho arjuna jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. So naham vedairna tapasa. So there is no ultimate way to attain me. If you just do the Veda Abhyasanam, just by doing Veda Abhyasanam, Naham Vedairna Tapasa, na Tapasa, Nacha Ijjaya, or if you do the austerities, or if you do the services, or if you do some charity, or whatever is it. Naham Vedairna Tapasa, right? Na danena na cha ijjaya shakya evam vido drashtum anasi. Correct? So meaning there is no point in doing austerities or just learning. What is needed? What is needed?
Yeah, devotion.
Devotion is needed.
Basically, that's what is.
Bhaktya tu ananyaya. So ananya bhakti is needed. You are not different from me. So ultimately, have the Sharanagati and through knowledge understand that the superficial distance or the notional distance the jiva has created is zero. So that is needed. So that is where the Sharanagati, the Bhakti, the Prabhati. But Bhagavan says that it is due to my blessings you could understand this, or you could see the Vishwarupa, right? Similarly, when you have that unflinching faith in the God, God will act in whatever ways is possible. You should have that unflinching truth or unflinching faith or devotion. So you have seen me in this form. It is very difficult to see Arjuna, and it happened only through my kripa or my blessings, and not just by the study. It doesn't say that we should not study. It's not like that. Neither by the study of Vedas, or nor by austerity, nor by service or charity. Only through single-minded devotion. This truth can be known and seen. This truth can be known and seen only through single-minded devotion, only through bhakti. You will reach me. And these two verses appear before the Bhakti Yoga of Bhagavad Gita. Before the Bhakti Yoga chapter happens, it's a context or a precursor. This context setting happens there. So, what is needed? The three things are very important. The single-pointed devotion, bhakti, jnana prapti, and jnana yogida one should have. Before these two, the kripa should happen. Blessing should happen from the Lord. And that divinity is there in all of us. It is our glorious self only. But our problem is we are superimposing, we are wrongly superimposing the functions of different layers of Prakriti or matter. So one has to realize the infinite divinity within. And this essence should be known. And what happens if the essence, the inner essence is known? How it helps a person? If the inner essence is known, one can serve in a better way to himself as well as to the others. One can serve or one can do good things to others. When we say, if you have seen great philosophers, say Aristotle or Plato, if you go back and read their stories, doing good to the world, very broadly they say, doing good to the world. How can one do good to the world, or how can one think about everything as a part of himself or herself? How one can do good thing to the world? Tell me, what is essentially needed before doing good things to the world?
Niswartha Sevana.
How Niswartha Sevana will come? How one will get this Niswarthada? Selflessness. Tell me.
The small selfless.
One should know this true self. One should know the true self. Once that true self is known, automatically the selflessness is going to just flow. So when the selflessness is flowing, it is quite logical that you can do good things to the world. Serving others, do good to all. Are you getting me? So, knowing that self is the most important thing. That is called as, embracing the essence in us. Then one will see meaning in life. Once that is embraced, that meaning is found, then the selfless service will just happen through the person. Niswartha Sevana, as one of you rightly mentioned. So, what one has to do, one should embrace this inner essence. Then only life becomes meaningful. So we started with the analogy of the king. We could not get time last time, so that's why I thought of. Can one chant the 18th sloka one more time? In the Atmabodha, I forgot to get my book. I have only the soft copy. Dehendriya Manobuddhi Prakritibhyo Vilakshanam Tadvritti Sakshinam Vidyad Atmanam Rajavatsaram. Correct. So Raja is the Sakshi of everything. And 19th verse. If you have got the book, please chant. Vyapradeshu Indriya. Maybe online audience, if you can. Yeah, Vyabari Vavi Vivekinam.
I just read.
Drishyade Abreshu Dhavatsu Dhavanniva Yada Shashi. Okay. So when the clouds move or float, one feels that the moon is also moving. Correct? Similarly, we identify our true self as something, as an object which is having rise and fall. So we always try to superimpose our reality in a wrong manner. Correct. Let us start the first verse for the day. Atma Chaitanyamashritya Dehendriyamanodhiyaha Swakriyartheshu Vartante Suryalokam Yadha Jana. Maybe you can also follow me. Atma Chaitanyamashritya Dehendriyamanodhiyaha Swakriyartheshu Vartante Suryalokam Yada Jana. Okay. See, what is happening? The body, mind, intellect, sense, etc. engage in their respective activities. Correct? Body, mind, intellect, sense engage in their respective activities. With the backing up of what? With the backing up of Atman's inherent consciousness. Here the analogy is as just as a man work with the help of the light that is inherent in the sun. During daytime, let me ask, this is an analogy we are using in this sloka. What is the source of light for us?
Sun.
It is the sun. Correct? With this sunlight we are performing the activities. Similarly, with the inherent consciousness, that ever effulging consciousness is the underlying force for the body, mind, intellect, senses to engage in their respective functions or activities.
So Atma Chaitanya is Shakti.
So, how the sun is giving light for us to work in the daytime? What is needed? We need sunlight. Similarly, the inherent consciousness is needed for the body, mind, intellect, senses to get engaged in the respective functions or activities. And let me ask another question. During the daytime, sun is giving sunlight and a man can perform good or evil activities. Isn't it so? Right?
Yes.
Man can do evil or good activities and also experience good or evil results. But this sun is getting affected or not? Tell me.
No.
We all are doing good or bad or whatever is, and sometimes you are getting good results, bad results. Whether the sun is taking a pie of that, or the sun is getting affected due to these actions of the people who are performing under the sunlight. Likewise, this by means of intelligence and inherent light in the Atman, this embodied soul, so called as the Jivatma, gets into right and wrong actions and experience the results based on the law of karma. But the Atman remains unaffected. Atman remains unaffected. The embodied soul called as Jiva Atma, so called as the mind, the vasanas, all those things, correct? Including the mind vasanas acting, meaning acts through this body and the karma will come out. And you do this karma, you get something good or bad based on the what? The law of karma. But the Atman remains unaffected like the sun, where when the people do the good or bad karmas, sun is not affected. Similarly, the Atman is not affected. All characteristics of our transactions are falsely superimposed on this Atman. All characteristics. Maybe we will use a simple analogy here. Electricity is used to function different appliances, different devices. Correct? The function of what do you call the iron box versus a coffee maker versus a tape recorder versus a fan versus a light versus an air conditioner. Tell me, the same electricity is flowing into these devices or not? What is different here?
The manifestations.
The manifestations. The ubadhis are different. The instruments are different, right? And the outcome of these instruments, are they same? But what is the force behind all these instruments? What is really needed for these instruments to work? Electricity. So, this Atman is behind every jiva, and every jiva is identifying this Atman with the wrong things, so called as the different layers, and thinking that I am limited, I am suffering. All characteristics of our transactions are superimposed in a wrong manner on this Atman. Whereas this Atman is like the king, where there is no notion when the king is seeing the performances. So the Ubadhi dosha, maybe in another way we can say the Ubadhi doshams are also introduced. Different Ubadhis, different manifestations. Because the qualities of manifestations also differ. Quality of mind, quality of intellect, the traits of the individual. But the essence is same, and we are that same essence. Clear? Verse number 21. Dehendriya gunan karman amale sachidatmani adyasyandya vivekena gagane nilatadivad dehendriya gunan karman amale sachidatmani adyasyandya vivekena gagane nilatadivad. So what it says, what this slokam says, the people who lacks the power of discrimination, people who are not knowing the Swarupam. what they will do, they superimpose these characteristics and functions of the body, mind, intellect, senses, all our transactions onto the stainless Atman, which is the witnessing force, which is the witness consciousness. What happens? The people who are not having or not possessing the discrimination, Viveka Buddhi, Avivekis, superimpose the characteristics of the function of the body and senses, mind, etc. on the stainless Atman. Stainless meaning the pure Atman. There is no kalankam, there is no impurity in Atman. So what Aviveki is doing is superimposing all those stains or characteristics onto that Atman, which is the existence, consciousness, absolute. Just as, the analogy in this sloka is, just as people attribute different traits such as blueness or concavity to the sky. We say blue sky. Sky is clear. Sky is dusty. When I fly above 20,000 feet, the appearance of sky is different versus when I am at the ground. Come on. This sky is having such attributes or not? The blue color or concavity? Tell me.
No, it doesn't. It's just Maya.
These all are the problems of wrong superimposition, because we are doing the adhyasam or adhyarobam. We are superimposing these characteristics and functions of our body, mind, senses onto that pure Atman, on the stainless Atman, which is essentially the existence, consciousness, bliss absolute. So here the sloka says the lack of discrimination, or we can say the lack of metaphysical discernment, superimposes the human qualities over this reality. So that is why Atman, ultimately we view it as the characteristics and attitudes where this Atman is not having any such attributes or attitudes. We are superimposing. Correct? See, we have to understand one thing. God is omnipresent. Correct? When you say omnipresent, what is the meaning? Because all religions talk about omnipresent God. No religions deny that. Correct? Tell me, what is the definition of omnipresent God? Please.
Is there everywhere?
Is there everywhere? If that God is everywhere, then you are also in that God, and that God is within you. That divinity is within us.
This other religions don't say.
And that divinity is there within us now itself, not after some time. That divinity is within us. Amrutasya putraha, Srinnandu Vishwe Amrutasya putraha. We all are, Amrita Swarupis. And that God is present in us, or we can say we are in that God. Isha Vasimidam Sarvam Yat Kim Jagatyam Jagat. Or as per Srimad Bhagavatam, Atma Vasyamidam Sarvam. And if that God is everywhere, again, the other analogy is, we are in that God. God is everywhere. And beings like us, we are a part of the God. Or in other way, if God is omnipresent, that God is also residing within us. And God is within us now itself. Always there, not after some time. Are you all with me? Right. So that is what the sloka says. Dehendriya Gunan Karman Amale Sachidatmani. So, in this bodham, in this consciousness, every body, mind, intellect, senses shines. But an aviveki superimpose these limitations of the body, mind, intellect, sense plane into this reality, into this consciousness. Like how we say the blueness of the sky, the visibility of the sky, appearance of the sky. Next verse, 22nd. Ajnanan manasopathe kartruttvadini chatmani kalpantyem bugade chandre chalanadiyadambhasaha. Again, due to lack of vivekam or discernment, the analogy here is the tremblings or shivering that happens in the water. What happens if you put a stone into the pond and assume that it's a full moon day?
You see the
ripples will be there. So is this the problem of the moon? And so likewise, the agency of actions, because we have ragam, dvesham, kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam, doership, enjoyership, etc. Correct? And when we interact in this world, we always get a ripple effect. Ups and downs. Forget about ripple. It can be ups and downs, or it can be any sort of pattern. Like the water which was still, and you throw a stone into the pond, and you see the ripples of the moon, and you see broken moon or distorted moon, and you are saying the moon is distorted. Similarly, you are superimposing the agency of actions, doership, enjoyership, etc., and you are deluded, and you are doing the superimposition onto the nature of the true self or Atman. This is the problem of an avivek, the one who lacks discernment or discrimination. So the issue is basically we are superimposing the agency of actions such as doership, enjoyership, aversions, attachments, raga, dvesha, everything on to the true self or Atman. See, what happens is basically if you see in our transactional world, we all relate it with the names and forms, right? Be it a city or a moving in a city or using a transport, or you see people, meet people, every transaction, because our mind will put a boundary of names, forms, ideas, etc. Correct. And the effects from the object world, maybe it can be ups and downs or ripple effect, etc. Let us see the dual effects coming. Good, bad, sorrow, pain. So the mind, what it will do is it relates every transactions, or it creates the boundaries of names, forms, ideas, etc. That builds the trap or prison of the dual perception or the limitations. Yeah, this is good, that is good. The one which I tried last time is good. The idea that you proposed is good, whereas the idea you proposed is bad. You create a boundary of names, forms, ideas, thoughts, etc. and you create a kind of perception that will limit, and that perceptions will always be having the dvidiya bhavam, the dual nature, good or bad, or pleasant or unpleasant. And this is the problem. The mind creates dvaida bhavam. The mind always creates dualities. And due to this, a fear is created in our mind. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Bhayam dvidiya viniveshadasyad ishad abedasya vibaryayo smriti. So that bhayam, what is the bhayam? You are different from the reality. Because the mind is creating the structure that will appreciate only names, forms, ideas, thoughts, etc. And those will have the nature of duality, because good, bad, rise, fall, etc. Due to this, the mind will create the fearing fact. Fear, bhayam. So, but whereas the individual soul, the Jivatma, is the reflection of Atman in the mind. If you understand this, it is clear. The same truth, when it expresses through the mind, mind is creating these superimpositions, or mind is creating these problems. And if one knows that the problems are happening at the plane of mind, then it is clear. Where are these problems happening? At the mind. Where are the motion happening? Or where are the reflections happening? It is in the mind. So one has to train the mind. But what are the three things needed? First is the bhakti. The mind should have the bhakti. Mind should have the single-pointed devotion. Sharanagati, prabhati. Mind should also be conducive enough to gain this knowledge through different ways. Desire, discipline, dispassion, discrimination, japa sadhanas, your upasanas. But above these two, that Lord, that Atman, that higher nature should bless this Jiva Atma. And if you are very particular, this should bless this mind. And if the mind is pure, then where is this clutter? No clutter. Because the reflection will be very clear. The reflection of Atman in the mind, if the reflections are uncluttered, you are with that reality. Clear? Verse number 23. Rage cha sukha dukkhadi.
Rage cha sukha dukkhadi.
Buddhau satyam pravartate. Sushuptau nasti tannashe. Tasmada buddhestu natmanaha. Ragecha, okay, ragecha sukha dukkha. So, raga, icha, sukha, dukkha. Attachment, desire, pleasure, pain, and so on. They all exist when, as long as the intellect and mind functions. Why I am saying is, they are not raga, dvesha, or anger, anxiety, etc. They are not perceived in the deep sleep. Correct? When the mind ceases to exist in the deep sleep, in the sushupti, is there any raga, dvesham, or attachment, or desire, etc.? In deep sleep, are we having these qualities in the mind? First of all, the mind itself is plunged into this reality. So, where are these attachment, desire, pleasure, pain, etc.? Who is perceiving? It is perceived by intellect and mind. And in deep sleep, intellect and mind are absent. And you are not experiencing that. In that case, these attributes belong to the mind alone, not to the Atman. If that is the case, you would not have got a good sleep. In deep sleep, are you distracted with desires? Are you distracted with pleasure? Are you distracted with pain in the deep sleep? Why everybody is silent? In the deep sleep, buddhi or mind is absent. When I say absent, it's plunged into this reality. So therefore, these attributes cannot be of the Atman. These can only be of the mind alone. Atman is the non-dual consciousness and is not affected by anything that happens in the mind or intellect. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.